Welcome to the Kai Greene Effect.
Okay. What's up? This is your boy, Kai Greene, Vlad Uden. This is the Kai Greene Effect, and we are about to bring this to you live. That's right. Hopefully, this will add something to your day. If not, it's a place for us to get a chance to get rid of some of our garbage. So thank you for tuning in to check it out. Anyway, no, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
man. Well,
What's good, Vlad?
it's only right to do the Olympia recap. It just passed, less than a week ago. So I figure we'll talk about that. But first of all, uh, Vegas, man, you came to the Olympia movie screening, and you had quite a suit on, man. You definitely brought the A game.
Wow. Oh, wow, man. Thanks for even trying to say that. I mean, plaids and stripes. I was trying to impress you. You know what I mean?
You did, and you did. It's so funny. It
Bang,
was like I
bang.
told you we spoke on the phone. I'm like, you were like, well, should we be dressed up? I'm like, no, just come in casual because it's mostly for Olympia people and it's kind of like, close guests. And you came with a three-piece suit on, man,
Oh
and
man,
the
it wasn't
hat.
like that. I was trying to do my coolie high throwback.
Nah, that was great, man. That was great.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. You're
How
being
long does
very
it take you to
kind.
get? How long does it take you to get dressed usually for any event? Because you also went to your booth. You were dressed up for that as well. How long it takes you to put the look together?
No, man, it wasn't all that. Come on
No.
now. You think because you see me wear a hoodie all the time, I'm I mean, I actually, I had to clean up a little bit. I wanted to come out and actually make a good impression,
Oh, you look great,
as we
man.
got a chance to, tune in to the audience and friends and so of Generation Iron. I think we were able to I always want to be able to show up and be appropriate and decent and respectful. That was a big night. You dropped a new movie.
Yeah,
Um,
it was cool, man. It was great to see people there, that I usually don't get a chance to see, because Olympia, everybody goes there, right? So everybody's under the same kind of roof. But it was an interesting group of people that came to the screening. Obviously, the Jay Court and Dan Solomon and the team, but there was other people that I haven't seen in so long. They were there. It was cool.
yeah, we saw Sean Ray. Uh,
Yeah.
a bunch of noteworthy people in the audience. I was very, very, very pleased. Pleasure to be able to count myself amongst. Um, we had ex Mr. Olympias in the audience and stuff. It was really it was awesome, man.
Flex
I thought
Lewis, Flex Lewis was there. Yeah, that was great, man.
indeed, indeed.
So you never got a chance to confront Sean Ray about that article that he did about you.
Sean's my man. We all good. It's all good. Sean's good.
All right,
Good.
all right. So listen, let's talk about Olympia. Obviously, I don't know, man. It was a lot of disappointed people, and not just Hottie fans, right? Usually, like Hottie fans are very passionate, so if he doesn't win, they're usually kind of very upset. But I don't know. I've seen a lot of upset people for some reason. I guess over Derek's first placement, and I don't know. You were in the audience. I wasn't there actually for that one. I was not there in the audience, but you were there. What did you think?
Man, I thought, first of all, they had an outstanding new talent lineup. There's a lot of new talent there that is awesome. I mean, we knew it coming into the show. And I think this year, I think you had a lot to promote. There's some silent interests that I think create their own kind of spark. I've long been waiting to see Andrew Jack come in there and really tighten the screws a bit and bring his better foot forward. It was very interesting to see him make such a I think a strong showing this year. But yeah, there are those guys that were in the lineup that you kind of see throughout the year, and you kind of imagine, what if, this guy comes in. I'm so much muscle on that stage, so much muscle.
Right,
Um,
right.
and we were surprised. Here's something that was very interesting to me. I didn't know exactly what the hell was happening with the call outs. And it's funny because a lot of times people will see you as an athlete that has certainly devoted your life and a healthy portion of your living experience, to competing on stage, following, and you should be able to follow the program of what you see kind of laid out in front of you with the patterns that are happening with judging and the call outs. But I sat there like a lot of people in the audience. I really did not have a clue as to who exactly was going to, come in first. I think it was a mystery for me, as it was a lot of people after the prejudging.
Did you have Derek in first place in your personal uh, opinion?
I mean, honestly, to be very fair, I I mean, the dude is tremendous. He's thickly muscled, evenly distributed throughout a physique that is, though not very tall, he still got these cartoon character proportions, and he was. I think he was incredibly impressive that night. Um, if it were up to me, just going by traditional
Hmm.
bodybuilding wisdom 101 in the past, the reigning Mr. Olympia was not Derek. So with that, you kind of imagined, looking at who the top guy is, Samson, it was his show. It was his house. This was true, in fact, the Mr. Olympia competition, but it wasn't etched in stone as to who was going to win. And I think what the judges got a chance to show us, or show me sitting there in the audience, was that, hey man, you know what? You have to have room for question and not
Right.
just accept, because this athlete is here and he is the reigning Mr. Olympia, that that he's going to get um, an unfair advantage. I think that's unprecedented. This is like
Yeah.
amazing,
He wa-
amazing.
Samson went to fourth place, which is obviously, it's crazy after winning
I
last
think
year.
that's unheard of, man. I mean, just
No,
being
it
very,
happened to
very honest. He's
it
the
happened
reigning
to
champion from last year.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
It happened to Big Ramy before. Same thing happened to Big Ramy. He went from first to like fourth, I think, as well. So we've seen that before.
unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, listen. So, I mean, you say this, and we see this. You say we have seen it before.
Hmm.
Um, under the old guard, the old administration, the old kingdom.
Right, right, right.
That didn't happen.
Yes.
Didn't happen. You know.
What was the audiences? What was the happening in the audience when they announced Derek the winner? What kind of vibes were there?
I mean, you know what? The truth is, he came up there and he showed it. He did an outstanding job. I mean, he did an outstanding job. The dude was, you know, I mean, first of all, let me just say this as a fan of the sport, past and present, there is certainly winds of change that are just there. It's 30 years ago, that didn't happen at the Olympia. I think the dynasty era of the sport,
Yeah.
kind of existed in the old model that was the old kingdom. I think Joe Weider, I think when Joe Weider originally designed the Olympia, his idea of what Mr. Olympia was supposed to be was the ability to be challenged, greatly by athletes and champions from everywhere that were more than worthy. And they were supposed to push the champion. But at the end of the day, for Weider, I believe, I'm not biblical scripture here, but that said, I think the idea, as I understood it, Joe Weider wanted Mr. Olympia. His Mr. Olympia, though he was challenged to face these obstacles, at the end, his champion was supposed to, prevail. You know what I mean? Mr. Olympia, in the past, by the standard of the old idea, was supposed to be challenged, pushed, but not overcome. And certainly not overcome very easily. So, and that's just maybe my opinion. I'm sure there are people out there that might have another, but I tell you what, there's a new time in the sport. And it looks like, to me, from what I can see, the idea of this dynasty that lives for forever, forever and ever, amen, just because it is allowed to be challenged. It looks like they're not just settling on a dynasty. Like the dynasty era is gone. It looks like they're very clear about, allowing for Mr. Olympia to come in there without an unfair advantage, and he's going to have to, fight and be judged on his merits. I think that
which is good, right?
I think it's great. Shout out to Samson Dauda because I think he did an amazing job.
Hmm.
That in itself is I think has to be a very difficult challenge to prepare for. Being the top man in the sport, everyone's gunning for you. You know,
Yeah.
everyone was gunning for him, and I think I can only imagine just how interesting his process of prep had to be while preparing for this Olympia, and how different it must have been in comparison to maybe past Olympias that he had to prepare for. Psychologically, I think you really do have to have an amazing edge, or you just have to be just built from another kind of cloth. The idea of thinking that you can exist um, with common thinking cut from the common cloth, just an average person that thinks average, and think you're going to defend, a title like that, and face the kind of aggressive, um, champion work ethic that's, coming for you there. I think it's just really, really a daunting task to say the least. So shout out to Samson for being able to do that. That is not an easy thing to do.
No. What do you think about, so what happened to Nick Walker? I mean, when you and I did the predictions, I think we both put him in a top five. We said it was a wild card, but he
Mm.
could have been number one, could have been number five, but we kind of thought he was definitely going to make top five. He made top six, but what do you think went wrong when you saw his physique on stage? What did you think about it?
Well, you know what? I wasn't there. I wasn't inside of his camp. I used to hate when I was an athlete in the trenches of an experience like that, and I'd hear like these people trying to speculate after the fact as if I would find it highly offensive to hear somebody that really did not know try to
Right.
stand on the platform in the moment and speak as if I don't care what kind of imagination you choose to use. Fact is, it's only your imagination.
But I mean,
You really
just
that
looking at his physique, just what do you think went wrong in his physique that I guess the judges took points off? Just looking at it visually.
Well, the Olympia is the pursuit of the most perfect man,
Hmm.
the most perfect athlete that day of competition. And with saying that, for an athlete to go to that show and not fare as well or not be met with top honors, even if they came in second, third, fourth, or fifth, wherever they come up in the lineup, it doesn't mean though that their potential is any less. It doesn't mean that, that whatever belief that they had in the possibility of one day achieving top honors in a system there like
Hmm.
that, it doesn't mean it's impossible. I think rather than to say what I think went wrong with um,
Nick.
I would want to probably talk about what went right. The fact that he showed up, he was able to train injury free and remain so throughout the entirety of his prep. I think everybody getting ready for the show, there are things that happen. It happens, a lot of things that you can't anticipate, with as much as people may say we take risks or measured risks or responsible positions and to plan ahead and to act accordingly. When you're in the trenches of the experience, stuff happens. Hey, you thought you were going to fill out. You thought you were going to, you thought you had time.
Hmm.
You didn't. There's things that you can't account for. There's certain hormone releases that can happen that you know you could not have expected. Um, so, you know, there can be any number of reasons why an athlete on, the day of their, that they're expected to do their peak performance. There can be any number of reasons why they don't. perform at the height of what they would expect to. And for another million reasons more, there are reasons why a lot of times for the fans and the enthusiasts, um, an athlete doesn't perform or reach the level of expectation that we may have set with standards that we have so high. Um, I think rather than say what I think he did wrong, I just want to say that I think he did a number of things right in order to come in there,
Sure,
be able to place where he did. Um, there are lessons that are learned from some of the things that you
sure.
do, whether you cut your water too early, whether
You know,
you know.
his coach, Kyle Wilkes, he actually made a statement afterwards. I don't know if you've seen it, but
Oh, I didn't.
he kind of took the blame for it in a sense. He said that that was his first Olympia, with a men's open athlete, and he said it miscalculated the Friday night peak because at Olympia it's a 2 day show, right?
Yeah.
And you have to peak on a Friday night. So like Friday, because typically in a bodybuilding show it's a morning show and then it's a night show, right? So you got to
Mhm.
peak in the morning for prejudging and then again at night. But in this case, you have to peak once at night and then again the next night. So they said that he miscalculated something for Friday night and didn't peak on at the right time, and then he had to make up for it on Saturday, but it was obviously too late already. At that point, by the point system, he would not be able to crack the top five. But he took the coach actually stepped up, and obviously it's a team effort, right, between the coach and the athlete. But the coach kind of took the blame for it in a sense.
Well, shout out to them because that's kind of
Yeah,
unheard of. A lot
yeah,
of times in the
yeah. I know.
past,
It's usually a
an
blame game. It's
athlete,
usually a blame game, right? Blame each other for.
hey.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But speaking of injury, what's interesting? It was revealed a couple of days ago that Derek Lunsford tore his pec, his chest. I think it was like a couple of weeks before the competition. So he won with a torn pec, with an injury, and then he also, this year it was an amazing year for him. He lost the title first, then he came back, won the Arnold Classic, beat Samson at the Arnold Classic, then he beat Nick Walker in Pittsburgh. Then he came back and won the Olympia with an injury. I mean, it sounds like an amazing accomplishment. Why do you
Oh
think
yeah.
he gets so much hate on social media? What's the issue? I mean, what's really the problem? You think with people?
I don't know. Sometimes it's sometimes I think it's not good for the athlete even to or the star or the personality of note. Sometimes it's very, very to your discredit to sit there and try to read through the comments because the comments can really
Sure,
they can hurt. They can be
sure,
very, very they can be very cutting, and you almost have to develop a certain kind of additional like mutant power, in order to be able to, withstand or stand up to some of that, take it in, and then still learn how to assert your own will on the situation that allows you to work when it's time to work on being your best. Um, so I don't know. I tell you what, I didn't know that he had a pec tear, but if
yeah,
he was able to overcome a pec tear, which for a lot of people, that may sound even impossible. A pec tear would be something that many would say is a career-ending experience. In fact,
right.
I'm still struggling to kind of wrap my head around that. I'm imagining it's probably a partial tear.
He said it tore his chest during dumbbell presses and 16 days prior to the Olympia. He didn't specify it was a full tear or half tear, but he said it was a serious chest tear. That's what he said. That's a quote.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So there are different levels of injury, obviously. And let's just say this too for those people out there that kind of hear, they've heard of people that had, an injury described like that and saw it as a career ender,
oh yeah,
I can remember, I don't know if you remember the X-Man Tony Friedman, but he had
yeah,
experienced in his
oh
career
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the unfortunate experience of having a pec injury. Um,
Have you ever been forced to go on the stage with a ongoing injury that you were dealing with ever?
I think every athlete that at some point or another, while they were working on, achieving record-breaking experiences in their career performance, may have been tendering, a injury,
Right.
or working around, in a very delicate way, the ability to overcome some of the challenges. Some of the challenges, like no one is totally impervious um, to those kinds of challenges. I think one of the things you have to do is even with the effort of training smart, and being the most responsible, I think, with all of the protocols that you would have to run in an effort to be the athlete capable of achieving the success that you want.
Hmm.
Um, there are challenges that come with that, and with that, even with a measured risk, there are still risks. There's still
Yeah.
risks to consider, and with that, some unfavorable outcomes that can result in injury.
Well, speaking of unfavorable outcomes, in 2018, right, Phil Heath's when he lost to Sean Roden, right, that Olympia, he was going for his number 8 Olympia, right, number 8 win, and he had a hernia surgery like that year before. So, according to him, he wasn't able to like show the abs properly, or he wasn't unable to like to have like a stomach control or something like that, right? And he knew that going into the competition. Do you think, decision wise, he should have set that year out, let whoever else win, and then come back for the 8th the following year? Or, you know what I mean? Like, do you think that decision was the smartest, knowing that that injury?
No, I don't think it was smart. Absolutely not. Because I wasn't there, so I wouldn't have been able to capitalize on that. It would have been smart if he'd have done it when I was there. If he'd have said, "Hey, the night before the show, listen."
Yeah, no, I hear.
Um,
By the way, so after this, the Derek Lunsford winning, so Lee Haney suddenly chimed in about his opinion on the win, and he suddenly calls for two separate classes in the men's open following the 2025 Olympia. The exact quote is, so basically he's saying it needs to be 2 different divisions for men's open. He's saying the reason physiques like Samson, Andrew, and Tabani exhibits more balance due to their height, whereas
mhm.
Derek, Hadi, and Nick appear to carry more mass per pound. The results are confusing to say the least, along with unparalleled appearances of the results. There's always room for emergence of new standards. So he's basically saying the shorter guys and the taller guys should be competing in different categories under men's open.
I think the product of being able to be competitive and to be able to assert what becomes dominance, is not just limited by your height. So we say, hey, well, we need to break up the weight, break up the classes. A taller guy should be compared to a taller guy, and a shorter guy should be compared to a shorter guy, because to me, that that one detail, I think, exposes an Achilles heel to, I think, even the reigning Mr. Olympia at that time. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Sure.
The reigning, before going into this weekend, I think that with all the awe-inspiring muscle that I think we come to expect on being able to see in a top champion at the peak of his game, at the top of the food chain in the sport, you know, um, sure enough, when you compared, um, the reigning Mr. Olympia champion, as we went into the weekend, when we compared Samson Dauda next to the other guys in the lineup, um, from the front, all of them look amazingly impressive, and I think
Mm-hmm.
he did it. You turn to the side, quarter turn to the right, quarter turn to the right. I think at some point, we expect all of them to have a great and amazing chest development, wonderful tie-ins between that and the delts, awesome round delts and arms. And, we expect all of them to have that. And, a certain amount of back development and detail. I think the fine detail, I think, that became the Achilles heel, I think, was looking at when you compare like muscle separation and density in, from the rear. And I think those glutes and hamstrings really do, um, play an important role in that. I think, it's not limited to whether or not an athlete is taller or shorter. I think the Achilles heel becomes the development, and I think the attention that an athlete like Hadi Chopin in the first years that he came to the Olympia. Um, and I think still, Derek Lunsford is able to do now. They're aware of something. And I think for me, what I saw was that is like, with looking at that, this is how I think I'm also able to see how Andrew Jack improved his game this year, from the back, you know. I really thought from the back, um, you can't overlook them glutes and the hamstring. Those tie-ins are like, it's crazy. I think if not for that, then I think, if we were to go back to, a day when, let's say, when the great Darian Yates was on stage with Nasser El Simbadi, Nasser was amazing that year from the front, amazing from the side, you know, um, the Achilles heel that was exposed for, I think, Nasser's challenge that year was where I'm talking about, from the spinal erectors down through those glutes, before you got to his hamstrings. I think his hamstrings were hard, but I think like right there, there's and it's probably a conversation of science that can be talked about there, you know. But with saying that, when you talk about hormones and how they can play a role in where your water is distributed and where but dude, training, you had to develop those muscles as if they were as important as your arms and as your back and as
Right.
your shoulders and chest.
That's cool, man. All right, Kai, you ready for the lightning round?
Let's do it.
We have 3 questions from our loyal listeners. So the rules is obviously you hear the question and you give a lightning speed answer if you can. So we have 2 questions here. Now we have one question that's a Patreon special because it deals with I guess controversial topic. But the first question comes from Robert on time. It's interesting. Kai, what usually throws off a peak for a bodybuilder right before the contest? I guess you kind of covered some of that with the Nick Walker thing, right? But in your opinion, what throws off a peak for a bodybuilder before the contest?
You want to be honest? Can I be honest? Want me to be real honest? I mean, I could be honest.
You should be
In
super honest,
short,
of course.
you know, sometimes you may have the wrong people in your hotel room. Sometimes you may just need to be by yourself. I mean, I remember training with an old friend and coach of mine earlier on in my career, and I remember, um, you know, shout out to him wherever he is. Dude was there's another time in my life when he was like really, really, he was just as crazy as I was as far as the methodical approach to like, walking with Buddhist concentration. I remember an entire prep system that we had in some of our more successful competitive outings together. We were in the same hotel room. He had, 2 separate beds, no Diddy, you know what I mean? Because it just, you know what I'm saying? It was just, separate beds. Um, and we probably slept at different times. But I remember, from the time we got up in the morning, there was like these things that you knew you had to do. You had to, as soon as you got up, you had these protocols to follow, and you had to make your way to the gym immediately to do your cardio. You had your cardio session to do. It had to be 45 to an hour, and then you had these steps. And as you walked through your day, there was this purposeful step that was in sync with focus and and just conscious thinking that was applied to everything that you did, a part of your assignment. And one of the things that I think that I recall now as I try to share this moment with you guys is that, I felt like he did it too. We both walked in this like entranced Buddhist concentration that was probably crazy to try to recall now. Someone else might hear this and it may, if you really got the illustration that I'm trying to reference right now. Imagine walking in a like as a Buddhist monk reciting your Ringyo Kyo chant. Your whole thing, this recitation in your head
Wow.
that really just kind of goes over the things that you're supposed to be doing, that you're supposed to be doing,
Right.
keeping your thoughts in this place of consciousness where you're relaxed and you're relaxed and you're available, you're receiving this great stuff from the universe. You believe that everything you do is in touch with, and you also, you're also planning out your pills. You're also, setting
Right.
up your next 2 meals. You're also following the program that you have. But you're moving in this way that is almost like, you know, um,
Synchronized.
say it again.
Like synchronized.
Synchronized and deliberate and fixed on knowing what your assignment is, opening the door for the achievement of the
That
success.
that probably what it feels like to be synchronized swimmers. You ever seen synchronized swimming team? Right? They do everything.
Well, okay, so yeah, I'll take that. So imagine then if you ask the question about, what can go into, messing up a prep or messing up the process of peaking before getting to the stage. Imagine then if you have this row of synchronized swimmers that are all trained to move in sync, you know, and now just one or two of those synchronized swimmers now choose not to move in
Right.
sync.
Throws the whole
You
thing off,
know,
yeah.
in essence, we're talking about the
Right.
experience of a breakdown in that chain.
Yeah.
You know, anything can lead to the breakdown in that chain, but this is why a lot of times, even like the process that you have, hey man, if you ain't been talking to your girlfriend regularly, if she ain't been living with you, y'all ain't been living together, if she's not a part of this protocol,
Did you ever
the
break up with a
last thing you should be doing is showing up and having her in your hotel room while you, hey babe, I haven't seen you in 6 months. You've been here, I'm here. And now, oh yeah, we're gonna live and have this happy. No, no, no. Let me focus. I got work to do. We gotta finish this thing. And let me allow you to do what you're doing and let me do what I need to do.
right?
Last thing you want to do night before the show is be arguing with your baby mama.
So you had to break up with a girlfriend before, or pick the prep over her? Did that ever happen to you?
There are times in my life when that, but you know what? Those are also like the best preps. Those are the best preps. Imagine how focused you can be when your heart is hurt. Inside, you're bleeding. Everywhere you look, there's a memory of something. Oh, we used to do. Oh, I feel like, damn it, it's even better if she got 3 or 4 new boyfriends. If each one of them want to post on social media. My life is so good now that I'm with him. And it's like, oh,
Wow.
each time you see it, it's like a dagger into your heart to where you can't look. You never
That's
check her
so funny,
page.
man. Let's go to the
You
next
never
question.
check it.
Let's go to the next question.
All right.
What is this? P5 P5 Onero, something like that. Whatever.
Uh-huh.
Would you continue to compete as a pro bodybuilder if you didn't make top 10 for 3 years in a row, or would you give it up?
If it's in you to give up, then you will. You don't even need appropriation for that. You don't need nobody to validate that for you. That's how you feel, you do it. But if you're asking me, I'll tell you, just like most athletes that are in it, if you're invested in this game and this means something to you, your placings at that point that are unsuccessful or that other people would count as unsuccessful, that doesn't matter to you. Particularly if you believe that you can do it and you're still this close to getting it done and you still want to manifest that. Yeah, that's not, you're placing your past outings that have been unsuccessful or thought to be not in the winning circle. That's not a deterrent. That's not the justification to be like, oh well, I guess it's not for me. Oh, I guess, yeah, I've already tried it. I did it 3 times. It didn't work. Well, no, think about this. I mean, it took Flex Wheeler before he became on the road to becoming the bodyguard that he had to have been at one time in our sport. It took that dude multiple times to qualify and go through the nationals, to turn pro. Back when it meant something to turn pro, back when it was very hard to turn pro. It took him more than 2 years. It took him 3 years to turn pro. If you think about, that's like somebody asking, you know, that athlete that says, "Hey man, what if you go to the draft pick as a basketball star out of college, and you go through the first they do the first round of picks and you're not called. Should you still consider yourself within the realm of possibility to become a great in the sport of basketball, you're like, of course you should. If that's what you want to do and you're willing to
Right.
do all the work that it takes to get there, who
Right.
cares if it took you 3 times? There's some people it took 16 tries. There's a guy, I don't know if you remember Matt Mendenhall. Um, Damn, there's got to be right off the top of my head a guy. I think Daryl Stafford. It took him like multiple tries to turn pro.
Hmm.
Um, there are people that had gone to the Nationals. Emerson Depani, he went to the Nationals. It took him, I think, 2 or 3 years to turn pro.
You
Um,
ever seen the movie Rudy?
Rudy.
About a guy who had a dream to be a football player. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Uh,
Let's go to the final question, and this one is going to be definitely on pay for Patreon. So for those who don't know, this episode is also featured on Patreon because in its uncensored version because YouTube unfortunately always puts a limit on what we can say or what we cannot say. Well, I think that's all for today, Kai. Those are all the questions, and
wow.
yeah, man.
Okay. On that note, listen, man, you've been listening to the Kai Greene Effect. And myself, Vlad Uden, and the fellas here at Generation Iron are very, very happy and excited to be able to have this moment of opportunity with each and every one of you. We want to encourage you as we sign off today to remember to be positive and let's keep encouraging each other. Peace.